Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and, let's be honest, mind-bending concepts out there, the fourth dimension.
So what even is it? We hear the term all the time in movies and sci-fi, but what would a fourth spatial dimension actually be like? That's the big question we're going to try and tackle together today.
Now, to really get our heads around something like the fourth dimension, we can't just jump into the deep end. We've got to start with what we know and build our way up, one step at a time. Think of it like we're about to climb the dimensional ladder. Okay, so let's build this from the ground up. Imagine a one-dimensional world. It's just a line. Anything living there can only move forward and backward. That's it. Now, what if you stack an infinite number of those lines side by side? You get a two-dimensional world, a totally flat plane. To get to our world, you just do it again. You stack an infinite number of those 2D planes on top of each other, and suddenly you've got length, width, and that crucial third ingredient, depth. So if we just keep that pattern going, what's next? Well, a fourth dimension would be a reality made of an infinite number of our three-dimensional worlds, all stacked together. I know, it's pretty staggering to even think about, but the logic, it holds up.
Okay, so we've got the basic structure down, at least in theory, but how would we, or anything else, actually perceive it? You see, the key isn't just about what exists. It's about how our eyes and our brains interpret the world around us. And this is where perception comes in.
And this is where things get really wild. We live in a 3D world, right? But our eyes, they actually see it in 2D. I mean, think about it. When you look at a ball, what your retina actually sees is a flat circle. Your brain is just an absolute genius at using clues like light and shadow to create the illusion of depth. But a hypothetical 4D being, they would see our 3D world in true 3D. They'd see the actual depth, not just the clever trick our brain pulls off.
This really means we're constantly looking at a flattened-out version of reality. It's just a powerful thought, isn't it? What we perceive isn't the whole story, not even close.
So what's the mind-blowing implication of having true 3D vision? A four-dimensional being could see everything in our world, all at once. They could see inside a locked safe, read every page of a closed book simultaneously. They could even see inside of you. For them, our world would have zero secrets, no hidden spaces at all.
Okay, let's shift gears for a second. Let's move away from perception and into something a little more, well, as concrete as this stuff gets. Anyway, pure geometry. We can also try to understand these dimensions through the basic shapes that define them. You know, there's a really clean logical progression here. A one-dimensional shape is a line. If you add a second dimension perpendicular to the first, you can build a 2D square. Add a third dimension perpendicular to the other two, and you get a 3D cube. So if you could somehow add a fourth dimension perpendicular to our 3, you would create the fundamental shape of that world, a tesseract.
But here's the catch. We can't actually see a real tesseract. Any image you've ever seen of one is just a two-dimensional drawing of a three-dimensional shadow of the real four-dimensional object. It's like trying to understand everything about a person just by looking at their flat shadow on the ground. You're only getting a tiny fraction of the information.
And this is the bottom line, really. We can understand the fourth dimension with math and with logic, but we can't truly visualize it. Our brains just aren't built for it. It's like we have a hardware limitation.
All right, let's tackle the one you've probably been waiting for. It's the most common theory you hear about all this, so let's put it to the test using the logic we've just built up.
I mean, it kind of makes sense on the surface, right? It's the other big dimension that defines our existence. But does it really fit the pattern of a spatial dimension? Well, it turns out the answer is no, and here's why. First off, time just isn't spatial. It doesn't behave like space does. Second, making time the fourth dimension would break the beautiful pattern we established because our three spatial dimensions already exist inside of time. And finally, thanks to Einstein's relativity, we know we can already kind of travel through time. An astronaut moving near the speed of light experiences time much slower than we do. That's totally different from just choosing to move along a new physical axis, like up or down.
So if the fourth dimension isn't time, what could it be? Well, this leads us to maybe the most profound idea of all, that our entire universe has a kind of hidden shape, a curve that we can't perceive from inside of it.
There's this theory that physicists have been playing with, and it suggests that maybe nothing in the universe is truly infinitely straight. Instead, dimensions might be very, very slightly curved. If that's true, it means if you could travel in one single direction for an impossibly long time, you would eventually end up right back where you started.
Let's just scale that idea up again.
If you have a curved one-dimensional line, it eventually loops back on itself to form a two-dimensional circle. A curved two-dimensional plane, like the surface of the Earth, forms a three-dimensional sphere. So following that exact same logic, what if our entire 3D space is curved through a fourth dimension? That would mean our whole universe is actually just the surface of a four-dimensional hypersphere.
And that suggests something just incredible, a potentially infinite nesting of realities. Our universe contained within a 4D one, which is inside a 5D one, kind of like a set of Russian dolls that just goes on and on forever.
It leaves us with this vision of a reality that is just so much grander and more complex than our senses could ever tell us. And it all boils down to one last huge, provocative question to think about. If our entire universe is just a projection, a sort of three-dimensional shadow, what is casting it?